Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jasmine. So today I've got another Planet Zoo speed build for you, and this one is for a new sandbox mode zoo that I'm creating. It's called Anami Zoo and it's going to be an African grassland zoo. And before I jump into too much of the content of the video, let me just apologise for how the footage jumps about during this video. I experimented a lot as I was building this one, and so in most of the footage there are other buildings that I later end up deleting or changing, so I'm sorry if it's a little bit confusing, but everything should be in order and I only show the footage of things that I end up keeping, so hopefully it will still make sense. You can just ignore what's going on in the background and just focus on what I'm building. So in terms of the content of this video and what I include in the entrance of the zoo itself, so to start we've got an entrance arch and some flowers, which you can't see at the minute, but I think that's like the last thing that I do, but that's the first thing that you'll see as you enter the zoo. And then I create this white building that I'm making at the minute, and that has got 3 information centres facing towards the public, and then at the back of the building it's also got all of the staff facilities buildings as well, and then some of those are also tied onto the small timber building that I'll end up creating towards the front of this white building. That's where the sign with the name of the zoo is. That's the building that I'm on about. And then towards the back of this white building I've got some toilets for the guests, and that's in like another little timber build as well. And then besides this white building I've got like a big timber and glass building, and that's got like a big food court and also a souvenir shop in it as well. So I've made sure to include the footage of everything that I create, so sorry if it's a long video for that reason, but I didn't want to exclude everything because just in case you're like me and you like to work out how people make different things, I left in all of the footage, and so it is quite long, so sorry about that. I did try to edit it as best as I could so that I didn't bore you. But feel free to skip to the end of the video because there are some screenshots there and then you can see how everything looks once it's finished. So yeah, that's quite handy if you're interested, but yeah, feel free to just skip through and watch as much as interests you. I won't take offense, I promise. So this is the second sandbox mode zoo that I've currently got on the go on my channel, and the other one that I've got is a Canadian animal park, which is definitely more naturalistic and traditional in style to this one. The idea behind that is that it's supposed to be like a national park, and that all of the habitats for the animals are going to be quite big and potentially more like a sanctuary or an animal reserve, and that all of the buildings are, yeah, like I say, quite traditional. They're in that sort of timber Canadian lodge style, whereas this one is going to be much more contemporary looking, and that was what I really wanted to do. Basically I wanted to create 2 zoos at the same time that were going to balance each other out quite nicely. So we've got 2 different styles of architecture going on that are quite different, so I hope you like them. I actually did a Twitter poll for which biome that you guys wanted to see most next, and you guys voted for tropical first, so I'm sorry that I didn't go for that, but I was thinking about it and I was trying to think about what I would do for each biome, and I thought I do really want to create a tropical zoo, and I will create one eventually, potentially soon. I'm not sure how many zoos I'll end up having on the go at the same time. It might be nice to have some variety, but I also might wait until we're a little bit more the way through a couple of these zoos, just so that there's more substance to them before we start a whole nother zoo, so that might just make it a little bit more interesting for you guys to watch. But yeah, I definitely want to create a tropical zoo, but for that I might do more of a traditional architectural style, and I'm thinking maybe Southeast Asia or some type of Asian architecture, which can be quite elaborate. It doesn't necessarily have to be. I haven't worked out what specific style I want to do just yet, so yeah, I need to kind of do a bit more research and get some more inspiration pics and work out what I want it to look like thematically, but that's what I'm thinking. And so I thought it might be nice to do a grassland zoo because yeah, just the backdrop of the beautiful golden fields and grass look really pretty against this white and timber colour scheme that I had in mind for this more contemporary style. And I thought that yeah, like I said, the contemporary would sort of balance out with the other zoo that I've got on the go at the minute. So we will see the tropical zoo, I promise, just maybe not just yet. I have a feeling that the kind of architecture that I want to do for the tropical zoo will be much harder, and I will need a little bit more practice in game before I try and do that, basically because I am quite new to the game still. Like, I have been playing it since it came out, but I haven't really been building in it religiously. I've just kind of, when it came out, I basically just played franchise mode and nothing else. It's only since having a YouTube channel that I've really been getting into building in the game. So yeah, I'm still kind of learning and I'm still working out which objects I can use. I would like a little bit more practice in the game before we create a tropical zoo, if that makes sense. Speaking of needing to improve my building skills in this zoo, there are a couple of points where, you know, I create things in this video that I'm not totally pleased with. So first off, the interior of the toilets. You haven't seen the footage of it yet, but I basically keep the interior of the toilets untouched. I give it a floor and walls, I think, but that's literally all I add. I don't add anything else, and I would like to make it slightly more interesting in the interior. And as well, I also kept the interior of the food hall and the souvenir shop really basic. They're neat, don't get me wrong, they're neat, but they're also very plain. So all I've done is just added a few bins. I've added some, you know, the signs to the shops, and I've just neatened off the walls and the trims so that they're all sort of the same timber colour, and, you know, just the door frames and stuff like that. But I haven't created any furniture or anything like that, any detailing at all. And some Planet Zoo players make some amazing interiors and they create beautiful objects out of the individual shapes that we get in the game, and I probably won't end up doing anything that elaborate, but I might have a play around. And what I need to do is just do some research and watch some other Planet Zoo players and how they create interiors and what objects they use to create interiors, because like I said, I'm just familiarising myself with the game again and how to use certain objects in certain ways. Or I might end up downloading some ideas from the Steam Workshop as well, because there are some amazing things on there, and I could just sort of drag and drop like a couple of ideas, and not necessarily like someone's entire blueprint, but just a few objects that they've created maybe, and see if they fit in my zoo. I don't know, I'll just have to have a look. If you guys have any ideas, let me know down in the comments below, and I would love to hear them. Also, in terms of exterior builds, I'm not best pleased with what is the exterior build for the food court and souvenir shop. I like the windows that I do and just sort of the general structure of the build, but the roofing is not good. Actually, when I was watching the footage back, I realised that I had something else in mind when I started creating that build, and for some reason, I don't know why I changed it. I think I just forgot what I was going to do, and so I just turned it into this really sort of plain rectangle shape and didn't do much else with it. But I think that made it really difficult in terms of the roofing. Sometimes it's easier to roof a building that's more complicated because the shape of the build can guide the shape of the roof, and if you just got this plain box, then like what on earth do you do with a roof? It can't go anywhere. But yeah, I'm not quite sure what to do with that, but I think I might come back to it in a later episode and maybe fiddle around with that and just change that building a little bit, because like I say, I had something in mind and then I didn't explore the idea and I changed it for some reason, so I want to go back and do it properly, I think. But I also didn't want to cram too much footage into this video. I could have gone back and done it before I like started the voiceover, but this video is already like half an hour long, so I didn't want to add more footage on top of that. So yeah, we'll just add it onto like a small habitat build maybe, and that'll make the footage easier to consume, I think. And if you watch my Sims videos, you know that although I do occasionally build contemporary builds, they are definitely not my speciality, and I find for some reason I think it's a lot more common for people to struggle roofing traditional builds, maybe because they are a little bit more complex visually than contemporary builds can be. But personally, I am the opposite. I kind of understand how traditional architecture is roofed slightly more because there are certain rules, and like I say, the roofing kind of follows the shape of the building and it usually does it in the same way each time, and it kind of makes sense to me, and I've gotten used to it in The Sims with the roofing tool. But with contemporary builds, I never know where they're gonna go. Usually they're flat roofs as well. There's quite a lot of flat roofs, and there's usually more variation in levels. Yeah, and it's more like the height of the roof creates a dynamic look compared to the direction or the angle of the roof with more traditional builds. So yeah, I was definitely struggling with the roofing in this entrance building. building. Sorry if it looks a bit naff. The other thing that I struggle with is just generally in this game, roofing I find really difficult because the grid section is really quite restrictive where you can put the roofs and how far over the edge of the building they come. Also, I kind of always find myself layering roofs in order to make them fit the build that I'm doing, and then that makes like a weird sort of glitch happen, you know, where they overlap and they kind of clip a little bit, and I really don't like that, so it just frustrates me. Unless you're creating custom roofs, I always just find they look a bit odd and I can never make them work, so I still need to sort of work around with that tool and find out how to do it best, but we'll see. In terms of the animals that we're going to have in this zoo, then I have made a little list. Like I say, it is going to be themed around African and grassland animals. So I've got down aardvarks, African buffalo, African elephant, African wild dog, black wildebeest, cheetah, ostrich, warthog, flamingo. That's a maybe. I included it just because I thought it'd be a nice variety, but I'm not actually sure which biome they're from. I haven't done my research yet. Hippo, Nile monitor, nyala, zebra, giraffe, pronghorn antelope, sable antelope, spotted hyena, springbok, Thompson's gazelle and West African lion. So there's a lot more animals there than we've got listed ready for our Canadian zoo, and that will be because just the enclosures for that other zoo are going to be much bigger and, like I said, more naturalistic anyway, so that will kind of make more sense. And this one is going to be more like a traditional zoo, or at least the habitats are going to look slightly more zoo-like and commercial, but I may or may not end up adapting that list just depending on what I think is best for the zoo and also what my PC can cope with, because I'm not sure how it'll handle like really big zoos with loads of objects in. I haven't ever played in a big zoo in this game before. Like I say, up until recently I've only ever played with franchise mode where I haven't really focused on building too much, so yeah, we'll see how it goes. We might need to limit the animals for that reason, but maybe not. And if you guys have any more ideas of animals that you think should be in here or that you think shouldn't be in here that were on that list, then please feel free to put them down in the comments below and let me know what you think, because yeah, I'm really grateful for any feedback that you guys have and I want you to be involved in the process of making this zoo. So let me know what you think of that. And yeah, and in general I'm just feeling really inspired for this architectural style, although I was having a bit of an issue with the flat roof. In terms of the sort of structures for the habitats, I've got loads and loads of reference pics for inspiration that I'm really excited to use using this sort of contemporary timber theme. I think that's quite common in a lot of zoos, especially the more sort of attractive looking zoos. They have quite a contemporary style, especially with a lot of wood as well. So yeah, that's something I'm really excited to explore in this zoo. And I haven't actually introduced a name yet. I mean, I did mention it at the start, I think, but I haven't explained why I chose the name Anami. So yeah, like I say, this zoo is called Anami Zoo, and that means tranquil, I think, tranquil or peaceful in Swahili. And I just liked the way that it sounded and I liked the way that it looked as well. I thought that the way the letters look together kind of suit that contemporary style, which I know is really silly. It sounds silly to say, but it does make sense to me. They just kind of look right in terms of a contemporary building. And yeah, I like the meaning of the name as well. So let me know in the comments what you think of it, whether or not you're a fan, and whether or not you have any ideas for the name of our Canadian style zoo as well, because I still haven't thought of anything. Maybe I'll try and make a decision by the next episode that I create for that zoo, because I still need to do that, so I'm sorry about that. Oh, and I also wanted to quickly mention that up until now I've been having really annoying problems with the quality of my video footage. So it's been quite blurry, especially when I move around the camera, and for ages I couldn't figure out why that was. I knew that I had a decent frame rate and that my video footage was being recorded in HD, so I knew it wasn't that, and I thought maybe it was just my PC specs couldn't handle, you know, the quality of footage that I was recording at the same time as playing and running the game, and maybe it was just failing to pick up the quality just because my PC wasn't up to it. But I didn't think that would make much sense because I have quite a decent quality PC. It's not like the newest spec at all, but it definitely should be able to handle it. And I did quite a lot of Google searching and realised that it was actually the bitrate, and that's not something I'd thought of before, and for some reason in OBS my settings were just automatically had a really low bit rate, and I think it's since I started streaming it changed my settings in OBS, and yeah, for some reason it just lowered the quality of the bit rate, which means that for a while my videos have been really blurry and I've not known why. So I'm really sorry about that, but hopefully from now on they're going to be much higher quality. And it has slowed down my editing process a little bit, because like to render a video takes a little bit more time just because the footage is much more high quality, but it's definitely worth it. So yeah, I just thought I'd mention it in case anyone of you out there were like having the same problems creating videos and you didn't know what it was. I just thought that it might be handy just to share that info, or if it's just me being stupid then you can all laugh at me, so there's that. And you can see me now creating this big food and souvenir building. Like I mentioned, the souvenir shop has its own section and it's got its own entrance and exit, and then it's separated off from the food court, which has just got one door and just is slightly bigger section where I've created some custom benches, or just covered some in-game benches with some planks of wood so that they match the surrounding timber. I would have liked to create a slightly more interesting interior, and I think like I say, I will come back and change it eventually. I just need to feel inspired, and I need to go out and look at what some other people do in their interiors and get some ideas, because yeah, it's just really hard. Like I say, there's no sort of interior objects, you have to create them all from scratch. So like, where do you begin? I think it's, yeah, this game is much more catered towards the exterior sort of architecture, and the interior is less of a focus. But I've seen some, like I said, I've seen some people create some amazing things in the interior. It's just like, yeah, you have to know what you're doing, I think, and I don't at the minute. So we'll come back to it, we'll sort it out, but for the minute it's just a little bit plain, so I'm sorry about that. And the last thing that I wanted to mention before I go is that you'll notice for both of my sandbox mode zoos now, I have moved the entrances, or I have created my own entrances. So when you start the game you automatically get a really ugly entrance building that the guests spawn out of, and I hate it, and but I never knew that you could create your own version of that, or that you could delete that and then move the entrance or create a new one in another area of the zoo. I had no idea, and for ages I was just using the ugly entrance zoo, but you can. So all you have to do is just delete, I think you just delete all of the objects that make up the entrance zoo individually. So there's one main group, but then you have to delete the path, and then you can delete the guest spawning objects and the ticket machine objects as well. And then once you've done that, you can just pick wherever you want to build in the map, and then you have to make sure that you lay down the ticket machines and the guest spawning objects so that, you know, your zoo actually functions and you actually have guests coming to your zoo, because otherwise it won't work. But yeah, if you just put those objects down wherever you need them, you can create an entrance wherever you want in the map. So that's what I did. And I also like to start the zoo slightly further away from the edge of the map as well, because then I kind of feel like I've got more room to expand. If I need to, for some reason, you know, go behind that boundary line, then I've got that freedom to do so. I haven't like boxed myself into a corner. So that's why I like to do it. But also in this instance, I think I just moved the entrance building to a right angle. That just meant that the lighting in this area was much more complementary on the main sort of entrance area, and for taking screenshots and stuff it's just much nicer to do that. That might not affect your gameplay if you're not interested in, like, you know, creating videos and you just want to create a pretty zoo. But yeah, that's why I do it. And also, yeah, just give myself a little bit of wriggle room as well. So I thought it was just a handy tip, because that's something that I didn't know for ages when I had this game, and I didn't show the footage of me deleting the original entrance, so I thought you might be a little bit confused. And in a minute you'll see me adding in those ticket objects and the guest spawning objects as well, so hopefully that'll make sense for you. So yeah, we're coming up to the end of the video now. I hope you liked it. Let me know what you think down in the comments below of this theme of zoo, whether or not you're excited to see all of the animals that I mentioned that I want to add to this zoo, and let me know what you think of the entrance as as well what we create in this video. So I'm really excited about it. I can't wait to create more for this style, and yeah, I kind of wanted an excuse to add some of the more popular animals as well to the game. So all of the African animals are reasonably popular, aren't they? So that's going to be exciting. And don't forget, if you're interested in checking out what the end result is, then I've got some screenshots at the end of the video, so make sure you stick around for those. And like I say, if you have any ideas or suggestions for any of the buildings that I created in this video or anything in the future for this zoo, then please feel free to comment down below. I would greatly appreciate any feedback that you have. But yeah, if you liked the video, then please like, comment and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time. Bye guys!